Hey, it is 11:40 The Bet, Las Vegas, Audacy Sports, as well as we're battling the weather. Hopefully a little bit better than the Raiders did against the Steelers on Christmas Eve. Adrian Hernandez here. Joining us right now is beat writer who covers the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area, Jennifer Lee Chan. First off, happy holidays, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us. And I guess my first question is, how does it feel covering a team that had playoff expectations that's actually meeting them?
It's been good. It's been a wild ride this year, especially starting with Trey Lance, going to Jimmy Garoppolo, and now Brock Purdy. So it's been a roller coaster. It's been interesting. They started off with a pretty bad record, and now they've won, how many straight games, and they're headed to the playoffs. So here we go.
I also need to point out, shout out to the NFL schedule makers who scheduled this game on New Year's Day. Already a lot of liquor and alcohol involved in any NFL game, but to do it in Las Vegas, it might be entertaining in the stands more than on the football field because of how the Raiders are playing. But before we get into the 49ers, I always love asking this from an outside perspective, but what have you thought of Josh McDaniels' first year and just everything that's gone on in the disappointing year the Raiders have had?
It's been a soap opera for you guys. That's for sure. It's been interesting to watch. That last game, the finish to that. I mean, it's never a dull moment with the Raiders ever. So it's been exciting to watch, and hopefully it'll be a good matchup on Sunday.
No, absolutely. And as we get into the 49ers, I want to ask you, obviously, Brock Purdy, the man of the year, apparently the man of the moment. And when I'm looking at the 49ers here, 3 out of the past 4 games, they've put up more than 30 plus points. Like, how much of a bad look or an indictment is it on Trey Lance that he couldn't lead this team to get that type of production?
I don't think it's necessarily that. 'Cause Trey Lance doesn't have that much experience. You look at Brock Purdy's college career; he had 4 years as a starter. He played football since he was, 6 or 7 years old, starting in flag football. So, I mean, he's been preparing for this for, you know, 15, 16 years. He just turned 23 yesterday. So, I mean, it's been a long time that he's been playing football and dreaming about it. And he's only 6'1", and he knew that that was one of his kind of his I guess there's something going against him. So he's been working so hard to kind of combat his shortcomings, literally. And because of his work ethic and what he's been doing to be able to like go through his progressions, read defenses, all of those things that he's worked so hard at, it's made him such a better player. And he has so much more experience than Trey Lance. So it's not surprising that Brock Purdy has been successful, especially with Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, because Kyle Shanahan will put guys in the best position possible, play off their strengths. Trey Lance just doesn't have a lot of experience. So, those were his first real NFL starts, his first offseason as the starter. So, I mean, it was going to be a growing learning process anyway. So I think, it's unfortunate that he got hurt in week 2. And, he's kind of just an unknown at this point. I mean, you know what you're getting with Brock Purdy because he has so much game film out there.
What has been the most interesting thing, I guess, learning about Brock Purdy as he's been introduced to the football world coming out of nowhere, it seems essentially?
I think the most surprising thing is that, guys can be really successful in college for 4 years, and then he just hasn't really, skipped a beat at all. He's kept it moving. He's been super productive in the NFL, especially when you consider how tight the windows are and how much faster the game is. It's pretty impressive that he's had the production that he's had. And yes, like I said, Kyle Shanahan gives him the best possible way to play the game, and he gives him as much help as possible. He's surrounded by a great supporting cast, so he's got that going for him. But still, the speed in the windows in the NFL is so much different than college.
And you brought it up, team started, wasn't off to a good start. Now they're on this win streak. To you, do you get the sense that this team has already peaked, or is this something that's sustainable as we head into the playoffs?
I mean, you look at the fact that Debo Samuel has been out, he's going to come back, and Elijah Mitchell are going to come back. I don't think they've hit their peak yet. They've got all those players, on the offense, star players. I mean, you look at it, just those two, and then you have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, that group is such a great supporting cast for Brock Purdy as a rookie. I don't think there's a rookie quarterback that could have come into a better situation. And the same thing for Trey Lance. I think if Trey Lance had that full season, I think he would have kind of gotten into a rhythm and would have been I don't know if, it's your guess is as good as mine if he be as productive as Brock Purdy, but he definitely would be productive just because he's got that surrounding, supporting cast around him.
And you bring up some of the injuries. I think it's kind of interesting. What's your sense of, do you think Kyle Shanahan is going to try to go after this second seed in the NFC, or kind of rest the players these final 2 weeks to get everyone healthy for the playoff race?
I think they're be careful with guys like Debo Samuel coming back and Elijah Mitchell because you don't want them, when guys are off the field, yes, they can be in good shape, but they're not in football shape. So there's a little
Yeah.
bit of rust. I don't think they're going to push them to play a bunch of snaps. I think they're going to have them come back gradually. But he did say this week that he doesn't want to have guys sit because then they kind of lose their momentum. They want to keep guys on the field, maybe just not as much as they have in the past. Like Christian McCaffrey had that one game where he had like 30 carries. They don't want to do that. They want to keep it a little bit more limited, like they did the last week and against the Washington Commanders, and kind of, keep the momentum rolling. Guys need to keep their feet wet in the game, stay in game shape. They don't want to have guys sit, just rotational basis. So while I think they do want the second seed, I don't think it's something they're going to, break the bank for.
Yeah, it's 11:40 The Bet. Jennifer Lee Chan, beat writer for the NBC Sports Bay Area, covering the 49ers, joining us as we preview the Raiders versus the 49ers. I think one of the matchups that I'm going to love to see is on the defensive end for both teams. Nick Bosa, Max Crosby. Nick obviously having a superb year. If you could just talk about his dominance and, potentially being defensive player of the year.
A lot of people are wondering if he could match last year's sack total, and he already has. So he's got 17 and a half on the season. He kind of has 17 out of the season. He's got that one that was during a 2-point conversion that doesn't necessarily count, unfortunately, again, on the stat sheet. But, his eyes are set on getting 2 more to match Alden Smith's record for, single season career sack totals. And if he gets one more than that, obviously he'd be the franchise leader. So, he is really unstoppable. It's one of the hardest guys, I think, for an offensive tackle to go against. He switches sides, so he's not always going against the left tackle. Sometimes he'll go against the right. And I've talked to beat writers that cover opposing teams, and sometimes, you just watch him in a game and his motor is crazy. His cardiovascular strength, his endurance is crazy, and just his technique. He talked this week about how he used to watch film and it used to kind of cloud his mind a little bit because he had a certain plan going forward for every move that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now he really studies film harder. So he kind of caters his pass rush to the player he's going against. So, I mean, he's just turned it into like a fine art of pass rushing. And I think he's only going to get better.
Well, just to let you know, the Raiders, I stopped counting last week, but up until last week, 15 different variations of that offensive line have hit the field in the regular season. So Nick Bosa is going to be eating like it's Thanksgiving this upcoming week. It should be fun to see him and Max Crosby. And before we get you out of here, I guess the moment of truth, I need a prediction for how far do you think this 49ers team can go, and what you truly feel is the ceiling for them.
I feel like it's the same momentum as last year. They could get to the NFC Championship game. And you look at the NFC, there are some good, the East is really good, but I mean, there's some weak spots as well. So I think the Niners could take advantage of it, especially if they stay healthy through the end of the season. If they keep this going, they've got a lot of momentum going to the postseason.
There it is, Jennifer Lee Chan joining us. Thank you so much. Hope you had a wonderful holidays. Happy New Year. We'll see you at Allegiant Stadium.
All right. Sounds good. I'm excited to see the stadium.